Okay, thank you. Thank you very much to the participants in this particular workshop for presentation. My name is Memo Ngui from Industrial Psychology Consultants. We have got a guest from the UK, London specifically, Sharon. She's a chartered psychologist, occupational psychologist. She will give you more details as we go through the presentation. She's going to be talking about psychological well-being in the workplace in the face of COVID-19. All of us are struggling with COVID-19. And we hope that she will share experience in terms of the psychological well-being of your employees, especially in the workplace. So Sharon, I will hand over to you. You take over. When you're done, we can then have a question and answer. But for the participants, if you've got any questions, please feel free to put the questions on the chat for now. But you will also give you an opportunity to ask Sharon questions directly at the end of your presentation. So you don't need to worry about that. I will actually be in charge of that. So I'll leave Sharon with the video on. All the other participants, maybe if you can switch off your videos so that we have got a stable presentation. I will switch off mine, but I'll come back when Sharon finishes her presentation so that we can do the question and answer. It's over to you, Sharon.
Okay, there are some people in the waiting room flashing up here.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to admit all of them. One by one. I'm just trying to check so that we don't have hackers like what we had last time.
Okay, I'll make a start, shall I, while you're acting people. Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Sharon De Mascia. I'm a chartered occupational psychologist, as Memory said. I started my career in the field of clinical psychology, so I had a caseload of people, some who were inpatients, who were outpatients, all with different kinds of mental health conditions. And I realized quite quickly on, after maybe a year, slightly less, that actually most of the people that I was seeing in the outpatients clinics with mental health conditions were there as a result of things that had happened in the workplace. So bullying, work overload, unreasonable management. And I was aware that although as a clinical psychologist, you can help people reframe their experiences, build their coping resources, at the end of the day, we were still sending them back to those same toxic environments. So I thought, well, maybe we need to go back a bit and work with organizations to help them create work environments that are not only productive, but also physically and psychologically healthy places to be. So with that, I qualified in occupational psychology, and I've spent around the last 25 years working in organizations, helping them improve their well-being. And now I'm the director of Cognoscenti Business Psychologists, and we work with a range of organizations to help them either implement well-being strategically or to improve what they're currently doing with well-being. And I've listed a couple of our publications there on the right. There are more in our website for anyone who's interested. Anyway, let's crack on. So what I thought it would be useful to cover today is, first of all, to look at the actual impact that COVID-19 has had on employment,
Maybe
what
Sharon,
the psychological impact has been.
Sharon, if you can share your screen.
Yes.
Your screen. Well, you haven't started sharing your screen. Okay.
Is it not sharing?
No, actually we are seeing the video of yourself.
Oh, it says it's, wait a minute, let's start again. It's saying it's sharing. Stop it and start again. Sorry about that. It looked fine from my end. Right, can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it now.
Ah, fantastic. Okay, sorry about that, folks. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at what the psychological impact of COVID has been, what it means for employees, and then we're going to look at, well, what does that suggest that managers have to do? What is it that leaders are going to have to do? And what is it that HR can do to try and make sure that we keep people psychologically well in this new world of COVID? So I thought it might be useful just to remind us of the roller coaster journey that we've been on and the kinds of emotions that we've experienced. So I think regardless of which country we're in, I think when lockdown started, we all experienced the same thing. So we all experienced a degree of shock. We've never experienced anything like this before. I think there was a degree of fear for most people, fear about their own safety, feeling a need to keep safe. Some people didn't go out at all. There were also financial worries for many people with work stopping, income stopping. And also, I think, while we were all isolated, we worried about our family and friends that we couldn't actually always make contact with. And then lockdown continued, and we sort of settled into this new business as unusual. So many people adjusted to working from home. Some people obviously didn't have any work at all. I think we still have this fear to keep ourselves safe, fear about our families and keeping them safe. And I think many people felt the need to find a new purpose. So I don't know about in South Africa, but in England, lots of people volunteered to do things. So they volunteered to help our National Health Service. But for other people, finding that purpose was about helping their neighbours. So lots of people did shopping for their neighbours, helped them in other ways, shared things with them. Lots of people felt the need to go outdoors. We were restricted to one period of exercise per day, so people used that to go walking or running. And I think there was not only the continuing financial worry, but I think at this point many people started worrying about their longer term career prospects. Would they still have a job when all this was over? And then we moved to where we are now. So many countries are now starting to come out of lockdown. And I think certainly UK and South Africa are in a similar position with that. And we're experiencing slightly changed emotions. So many people are frightened of using public transport because they're going to come into contact with strangers. People are worried about, some people, not all, but some people are worried about mingling with their colleagues again, having to meet clients perhaps. And for many people, they're not only frightened of being exposed to COVID through people they come into contact with, but they're worried about taking any contagion home to their family, especially if they have vulnerable family members. And I think for many people, this whole experience of COVID, lockdown, being at home for a length of time has maybe caused them to reconsider their lives, their work. And I think a number of people are thinking, do I still want to do this job? Do I want to go back to this job? Do I want to do it differently? So I think it has been a whole roller coaster of emotions, and I suspect it will continue to be so for some time. So what has been the economic impact of COVID, both in the UK and in South Africa? Because I think there are some similarities between the two. So I think in the UK, back in April, 22% of the UK working age population were furloughed. Now, I don't know whether you have the word furlough in South Africa. I'll explain what it means to us, and then maybe you have the same thing, maybe not.
Sharon, we are in Zimbabwe. We are a neighbor of South Africa.
Sorry, what was that?
I'm saying we are in Zimbabwe. We are a neighbor of South Africa.
Sorry, apologies for that.
No, that's okay.
Just ignore this South Africa then, and put neighbour of South Africa in front of it. But it was difficult to find statistics. So there wasn't a great deal available because obviously this is all very new. So I'll just share with you what I have managed to find. Furlough in the UK meant that if employers didn't have work for their employees, either because they had to close or they just didn't have any clients, then the government paid 80% of those employees' wages. So basically, lots of people sat at home with no work, but with 80% of their wages, and that's what furlough actually meant. And a latest report from McKinsey suggests that unemployment rates could double as this furlough money starts to reduce, which it is going to do soon. And also, and this is probably the same for you guys, staff in low-paid jobs are most at risk of losing their jobs as the economy opens up again. And in the UK, 38 of furloughed workers think it's likely that they will lose their job in the next 12 months. So the economic future is not looking very bright for us. And also 39% think their financial security has worsened. And for those people furloughed, that goes up to 57%. And then figures, the closest figures I could find, which were for South Africa, which may or may not be that similar to yourselves, suggested that 60% of SMEs may close before this crisis is over. So that's a lot of people's jobs at risk. And more than 30% expect revenues to fall from between 5 and 50% during the next 6 to 12 months. And 70% of SMEs are saving money by laying off staff. And that is exactly the same here. And I suspect that is the same throughout most of the world. So what has been the psychological impact of COVID then? Well, I've taken some research from around the world with people who are ahead of us, ahead of the UK on the COVID curve. And I think you guys are slightly behind us on the COVID curve. But research from Greece suggested that just 1 month of lockdown can negatively impact physical and mental health. Now, here in the UK, we've had around 2.5 months of lockdown, so stands to reason that for some people, their mental health will already have been negatively impacted. A survey from Italy showed that as they came out of lockdown, around 80% of people needed support to cope with the impact of the coronavirus crisis. And also research from Italy suggests that there have been suicides directly related to the COVID-19 situation. And those suicides have been financially related in that it's been business owners being found dead in their premises where they just can't see any way forward, which is very sad. Research from the United States suggests that now people are 8 times more likely to meet the criteria for moderate to serious mental illness compared with 2 years ago. So that's a pretty interesting statistic on its own, isn't it? And we also know that during the coronavirus crisis, adults with existing health conditions, whether physical or mental, have been at increased risk of reduced mental well-being during the lockdown. And interestingly, in Italy, when they started to come out of lockdown, even though people were free to do whatever they wanted, a significant proportion of people have still remained indoors, isolated, not socializing, not wanting to go out.